If you like these kind of videos, then subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to never miss an update from me.
One of the important aspects of any B school journey is taking part in competitions. These competitions not just give you a great chance of peer-to-peer learning, but they also help you implement whatever you have learned in the theory as a part of the curriculum into practice. These competitions require you to be in the seat of a CXO or head of any business unit and address the problem statement given to you so that you come up with a solution which is feasible and scalable. Step 1. Keep yourself updated on what is happening. So there are a lot of competitions that come on various websites and apps. You make sure that you register yourself in all these platforms so that you know when to participate in which competition. So there are sites like Dare to Compete, Quizzing Inc., Campus Conversations, and so on, which you can find over the internet. There are also some campus launches that happen for these competitions, about which your respective placement teams will inform you. The second step, which I feel is the most important, is team formation. Certain important points to keep in mind are: first, you need to have a complementary skill set. For example, if you are someone from marketing, then you might want to involve someone who is an HR or from finance or from operations. This way, you are able to get a holistic view of the problem statement given to you and you can come up with different kinds of solutions toward it. Second thing, you might want to form a team with someone who has some past experience in that industry. You might also want to look out for people who are good with content writing, some who are good with data analysis in Excel, and others who can make a good PowerPoint presentation. The third step is understanding the themes of the competitions. So these competitions can be categorized into 4 themes. First is the B plan or the new product development competitions. These competitions give you a chance to come up with a product which is in line with the philosophy of the company. And then you have to brainstorm and design and create a prototype so that you can pitch it to the company in front of the judges. The second type of competition is strategy based. These competitions are basically open-ended and exploratory in nature. You might be given a huge story about the company. Sometimes the real problem or pain points may not be explicitly given. So you need to do a thorough research to back up whatever you are proposing to the company. The third kind of competition is sector or industry specific. So for example, Mahindra War Room or Tata Steelathon, these kind of competitions give you a certain sector in which they are facing some issue, or they might also give you multiple caselets belonging to different sector, and you might have to choose one sector which you feel you are comfortable doing and then come up with a solution for it. The fourth is a very peculiar kind of competition. It is basically specialization specific. So for example, Nestle has 4P for marketing and engineering for HR. So these competitions are very niche, and then you have to form a group with people belonging to your specialization with the most important part of any presentation, and that is the primary research. There are multiple ways to go about primary research. The easiest one being making a Google form online and circulating it among your batchmates. You will get a lot of entries, but about the reliability of the data, I'm not sure. And let me tell you one thing very straight. Almost everyone does the primary research, but the one who actually wins is someone who has gotten their hands dirty. So do not be scared of going out in the field and talking to the real customers who are making that purchase, who are taking that particular decision your case addresses. And there are some other ways of going about primary research. One of the major, or you can say the most important way, is approaching your college alumni. So they might be working in that particular company or in a similar segment, and they might actually be working on a similar kind of problem in their own work environment. So you will definitely want to learn how their thought process is, what that particular company is doing about the similar situation. Then you can also approach the industry experts or some other employees of that company or segment by approaching them on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn gives you an option to send them a message and then connect with them. So you can like very formally write what you want to know from them and book an appointment for a telephonic conversation. You can also have a focus group discussion with people carefully chosen from different walks of life. For example, it might be a customer who buys from a general store, then someone from the malls, and different kind of formats. So basically, focus group discussions have 5 to 6 people who have knowledge of and who are aware of what they are doing, and then you give these people a product to test or some topic to discuss about, and try to observe and jot down important points from that discussion. You might even want to record this particular discussion as a proof of your primary research. Always remember, if you're going out in the field, do not forget to click pictures of you and your team and of certain important observations that you have made. Then comes the secondary research. For this, most of the colleges have their own subscribed databases like Emerald or CMIE or Bloomberg Terminal and Euromonitor. So you might want to know how you can access these portals and how you can extract the data that you need. For this, you can take help from your professors. Also, a lot of professors work on research papers, so they might be aware of what kind of case study you're working on and they can give you their inputs. You can also have access to research papers and Harvard case studies online. You can buy them, or there are various sites which make available the PDFs of such cases. So these are very helpful when it comes to benchmarking. You might want to cover your secondary research from 4 angles, which we call the 4C framework. The 4C stand for customer, company, competitor, and collaborators. So if you approach the situation from these 4 angles, then you might come up with a good solution. Also, this data can be used for benchmarking purpose. Benchmarking is basically a technique where you juxtapose whatever you have learned about this particular company with its fellow competitors in the market. So the format for this I will be discussing in the video on how to make a PowerPoint presentation for competition. The fifth step is understanding the audience. So for example, a lot of people are watching YouTube videos at the moment. But what my target segment is MBA students who are probably now going in their second year and who will be facing these kind of competitions to get a PPO or a PPI. So this is my TG for the marketing purpose. You might want to go about choosing your audience firstly by mapping the entire customer journey. So customer journey is basically how your customer is moving from the zero moment of truth to actually purchasing the product, and what are the various touch points that the customer faces or interacts with while taking that particular decision. So a sample of this I will be showing in the video on how to make a PowerPoint presentation. Once you have chosen the segment, you need to convince the company that how your positioning of the product will be suitable and how impactful it will be. For this, you can use a technique called perceptual mapping, which I will show you now.
This is an example of a perceptual map. A perceptual map is a visual representation technique of perception of customers about a product on certain attributes. So like you can see here, I have used this image from Google. There are 2 attributes which this map is studying, one being price and one being quality. So for example, there are 2 brands A and B. You can see where they are placed in the minds of the customers. So for example, you have a product which is brand C and you need to find out where the gap exists. So as you can see, the gap lies in the 4th quadrant and therefore you can place your product there. So this is how you can show how actual or how real the positioning of your product can be.
Once you are done with perceptual mapping, you will have to move on to create personas of the ideal customer of your product. So persona is basically a character sketch of how a typical user of your product or whatever your strategy you're making will look like. So you'll have to cover details like age, gender, education, income level, the location or tier of city they belong to, the interests they have, the pain points they have, how efficient they are in using technology, and some other details that you want to address. The sixth step is now your big idea. You are done with your primary research, you are done with your secondary research, and you are done with benchmarking and gap analysis. Now is the time to use the data that you have collected to guide you towards the big idea. So when you're making a PowerPoint presentation, you need to mention the big idea very clearly, highlight it, make a box around it, make it very clear. The big idea should not be very safe or very extreme. For example, you cannot ask Colgate to come up with a different flavor for the toothpaste. That's a very safe decision for them. Or you cannot ask Bajaj Auto to start manufacturing garments because this is not in line with the strategy. So your solution has to be very balanced. Like you can come up with a list of solutions and you can ask your batchmates to shortlist a few good ones, and then you can brainstorm on that and decide for one big idea. Do some research on whether whatever you are proposing has already been implemented by the company and it failed, or implemented by some other company and it failed. You might not want to give out a solution which has failed in the market. Number 7, adapt your solution to suit the company needs. So whatever you have presented up till step number 6, you need to fit that into company's model. For example, if I am suggesting a digitally advanced shopping cart, how will that shopping cart benefit Reliance Retail? Or if my solution is about making the Saboro outlets of Mahindra go online, how will that help Mahindra increase its revenue? Step number 8 is preparing a budget. So some of the people might be really scared of the idea of making a budget because it looks huge, it involves cost in lakhs and crores, but it's actually pretty easy to make. So there are a lot of templates which are available online which you can tweak to suit your need. You might want to go there actually assessing the cost of the items that you are using or of the activities that you intend to plan. If you're not getting the actual data, then even the estimates is also fine. You can get in touch with the professors or industry experts or people on LinkedIn to know how they assess the cost for these items. Even if you're not able to get the actual data, it's perfectly fine. Step number 9 is designing a timeline. So let's say if you are planning 3 social media activities, one is, let's say, about Twitter, one is on Facebook, and the other is on Instagram. Now, will all these happen simultaneously, or will it be divided over a course of 6 months or over a period of 1 year? So you need to know that an average campaign is run for at least 2 to 3 months to actually have an impact. That is how you want to spread out the entire activities and show it month-wise. You can use a Gantt chart for the same. So Gantt chart is basically a different style of presenting timeline, which I will be discussing in my next video. Or you can simply use an Excel file to show using colors as to which activity will be planned in which month. Step number 10 is making a good PowerPoint presentation. So I am doing an entire video on how you can go about it, which you can see in the next section. I feel that if there is a judge who is going to different campuses and seeing tens of presentations, it is the aesthetics of your PPT that can help him remember you, and it will give you an edge over others. So that is how important a good PowerPoint presentation is. You need to present all your findings and the entire solution that you're proposing in a logical sequence so that it is understandable and relatable by the people who are coming to judge. So an entire section on that in the next video. Now I will tell you 5 important hacks that are drawn from my and my friends' personal experiences. Number one, know your PPT in and out. You don't want to be standing on the stage wondering which point has been raised by the judge and where to find that. So you need to be aware of on what slide you have put which content. Second, prepare for question and answers well in advance. So once your presentation is ready and your solution is there, you can ask a few of your friends to sit down and watch the entire PPT with you. You can ask them to ask questions right from the very basic ones about the concept and your idea to as advanced as they can be. Third, maintain the time limit. So in a lot of competitions, a time limit of let's say 15 minutes is given, wherein 10 minutes is for presentation and 5 for the Q&A. If it is for 10 minutes, it has to be 10 minutes. So make sure you practice your presentation in such a way that you are able to manage before time, so that when you go there on stage, then obviously you lose track of time. So there should be sufficient buffer for that, and then you should be able to cover all the important points that you wish to convey in that stipulated time period. Fourth, participate in multiple competitions. So practice is what I feel makes you perfect. You might not be good in the first attempt, but you will watch others, how like the other teams, how they're presenting their ideas, and then you own your skills of presentation yourself. And fifth is what I believe kind of a cheat code. So you need to use the 3 R's: reduce, recycle, and reuse. So like I said, if you're participating in a lot of competitions, then you have sufficient primary research data, a lot of strategies available with you. Use this reservoir of ideas for future competitions. So you need not go out there in the field again and talk to customers, because you already have something which you have found out in a similar kind of case study competition. So reuse that data, reduce it according to your needs, and recycle it. That is it for this video. If you feel you found something useful in this video, please do not forget to like the video. I'm open to any question in the comment section. If you feel there is something more I could have talked about or should address in my future videos, then please mention that in the comment section.